all day, marching bands and that sort of thing, but I'm going to dive right into our first introduction. I'm introducing each one of these speakers with a lot of pride. I'm proud of everyone that's going to be here today. The first person I want to bring up is Larken Rose. Larken Rose, if you don't know him, he's a self-proclaimed enemy of the state. He's a tax heretic, the author of 3 books, and his most latest book, The Iron Web, got great reviews within the freedom movement. And has anybody seen America, Freedom to Fascism? Good. Put together by our late filmmaker, Larken Rose, who also made Trading Places, by the way. Made a movie called Freedom to Fascism, and it features our next speaker, Larken Rose. Give a round of applause to Larken Rose.
Thank you very much. I'm going to say some things today that are going to anger a lot of people and offend a lot of people and probably make lots of people go, yay! But I'm pretty sure you won't be bored. 233 years ago, a bunch of guys got together right over there and they wrote a letter to their king. And it was a very well thought out, very eloquent letter, but it basically boiled down to this. Dear King George, you're not the boss of us. Sincerely, bunch of troublemakers. Because that's essentially what the Declaration of Independence was. It was not whining to the king, oh, will you please be nice and lower your taxes and do this. In fact, the Declaration specifically describes how they had tried that and it didn't work. Now, for all the parades and celebrations and picnics and fireworks that are going to go on today across this country, all the millions of people engaged in this celebration, how many of them actually think about what the Declaration of Independence was? What those people did? Those people were criminals. They were tax cheats. They were traitors. They looked their government, the British Crown, in the face and said, we do not acknowledge your right to rule us at all. They did not say, will you please reduce this and please be nicer here. They said, it's over. Truth be told, some of the colonists were cop killers. If you don't believe me, what do you think happened at Lexington when King George's law enforcers said, you colonists, lay down your guns? They said, no, you're not the boss of us. And so we had the shot heard around the world, which is widely regarded as the beginning of the American Revolution. How many people celebrating across this country today actually support that kind of radical, extremist action and attitude that you can go to your own government and say, we're not going to obey you anymore. We do not acknowledge your right to rule us at all ever again. Personally, I doubt it's very many Americans. We have lots of sort of residual freedoms left over from what a bunch of radicals did a long time ago, and it's sort of fun to be this close to where some very significant steps in that happened. But the bad news is the spirit that allowed this country is basically dead in the vast majority of Americans. The vast majority of Americans are absolutely incapable of thinking, much less speaking, the concept, you're not the boss of me. Now, when we look back, it's easy for us to cheer, hooray for the rebels, and we know how it turned out. We know they won. We know the revolution was successful, and King George got his butt kicked. So we can say yay, yay, hooray. But make no mistake, when you cheer for the people who had the American Revolution, you are cheering for traitors and criminals. They broke the law. Freedom is always illegal. Let this one thing sink in. If you don't hear anything else, freedom is always illegal because the people who want power over you will always say keeping what you earn is against the law. Being armed is against the law. Determining your own future is against the law. And how many Americans, as much as they celebrate Independence Day, are capable of even thinking those thoughts? Let's do a comparison. Suppose a group in this country today did what the founders did 233 years ago. Suppose they wrote a letter to the United States government, a letter to Congress and the president, and said, "We will not pay your taxes ever again. We will not obey your laws ever again. We do not acknowledge your right to rule us at all ever again. And when you send your thugs to enforce your will on us, we will resist." How many Americans dare to even think that? And what would most Americans think of any group that did that? Horrible criminals and traitors and fringe lunatics, and we can't have that. Well, why do we have this double standard? Why is the whole country having these huge celebrations over Independence Day where a bunch of criminals broke the law, committed treason, and resisted authority, when the vast majority of all those people out there having celebrations would be the first in line to condemn anyone who did that today? Why the double standard? Did morality change sometime in the last 233 years? In short, the spirit of resistance, the ability to say, "You're not the boss of me," is gone from the vast majority of American culture. It has been trained out of us. And for all the pride people express today, I'm here to tell you, the American people are wimps. And why is that? It's not just bad luck. It's not a coincidence. For years and years and years, the churches, the schools, the media, the government, society in general has taught us one rule above all else. Obedience to authority is the highest virtue, and disobedience is the worst sin. That is the message that comes through everything else. And you can see it. Here's where I'm going to offend a lot of people. You can see it in the freedom movement. Because the vast majority of the freedom movement consists of people saying, let's vote for these people, let's push for this legislation, let's lobby for this and that and the other thing. And they couch their demands in, of course, we will only do things within the system. We would never advocate anything illegal. Well, I hate to spoil your party, but the Declaration of Independence was not about doing something within the system. It was about saying, we're free whether authority says so or not, and we will resist. Even if you call it law, even if you call yourself government, even if you wear fancy hats and have big, important meetings, we will resist because we own ourselves. Yeah!